Welcome back to Disturbed Reality. When Ismail Zambada, aka El Mayo, was captured on the 25th of July 2024, many asked the question, what does this mean for the Sinaloa Cartel? That answer became apparent when it was revealed that the sons of El Chapo, Los Chapitos, were the ones responsible for orchestrating his capture. After a couple of months of peace, the son of Ismail Zambada, Mayo Flaco, declared war upon Los Chapitos and anyone who supported them. The city of Culiacan was flooded with gunmen belonging to Mayo Flaco, and they patrolled the streets looking for their opposition. Since September, constant firefights have broken out in Culiacan, the surrounding areas, as well as other places in Sinaloa state. The Sinaloa Cartel, of course, have gone through civil wars before, notably in 2008, when the Beltran-Leyva brothers split from the organisation, declaring war on both El Chapo and El Mayo. But the Beltran brothers were defeated after a bloody war, and Cartel de Sinaloa's standing as Mexico's top drug cartel remained intact. However, this civil war feels different. The old narco traficantes are gone, and this battle is being fought by their sons, who seem every bit as brutal as their fathers, if not more so. Ultimately, the war will more than likely come down to two factors. The first being who can forge alliances with other cartels to use as support, and who can more effectively corrupt and coerce law enforcement as well as politicians. The elephant in the room surrounding the Sinaloa Civil War actually resides southeast of Sinaloa state itself, that being the new generation Jalisco cartel, CJNG, of course based in Jalisco state. CJNG so far have taken a backseat approach, looking on from afar, though there have been reports that CJNG have formed an alliance with the Los Chapitos faction of the Sinaloa Cartel, supporting their war efforts against Mayo Flaco. This story was reported a few months back by various narco news sites, but little else has been reported since. What is for certain is Cartel Jalisco certainly haven't been sending men to fight on behalf of Los Chapitos, but if they are supporting as the initial reports indicated, they are likely supplying weaponry, explosives, as well as vehicles. Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generacion, of course, have been at war with factions loyal to Mayo Zambada in Zacatecas state for a number of years, with the state itself becoming one of Mexico's bloodiest battlegrounds in the ongoing cartel wars. The civil war will certainly improve CJNG's chances in gaining more of a foothold in Zacatecas, but as stated, as of right now, they seem to have taken a back seat, even fighting less in Zacatecas since the civil war erupted. It's certainly a smart strategy, wait for the ops to deplete themselves before moving in, but what could a potential end goal be, aside from taking Zacatecas? Well, I think the answer resides on the border. As powerful and as brutal as Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generacion are, and as formidable and as wealthy as they are, one crucial thing that they have not been able to achieve is the control of a border state next to the USA. Many theorize that CJNG's long-term play could be to invade Tijuana, which of course is controlled by the Sinaloa Cartel following the fall of the Arellano Felix organization. Some theorize that this may have happened already if it wasn't for the USA designating Mexican cartels, including CJNG, as terror organizations. As a result, the spotlight has been put on such organizations, and arrests have been taking place across Mexico of various high-profile narcos, all belonging to a multitude of different cartels, such as CJNG, Cartel del Noreste, the Gulf Cartel, as well as the Sinaloa Cartel. The terror designations may have inadvertently stopped a bloodbath in Tijuana state, a state already crippled by cartel violence. But as far as I'm concerned, Tijuana is the state to watch when it comes to CJNG and their potential play to take advantage of the civil war. One aspect of the Sinaloa Cartel civil war that I don't hear many people talking about, however, is that we could be seeing the potential rise of a new super trafficker, and the man in question is Fausto Isidro Meza Flores, aka El Chapo Isidro. The 42-year-old Chapo Isidro has been in the drug game for a long time. He began his criminal career in the 1990s, at first working for the Juarez cartel under the tutelage of then leader Amado Carrillo Fuentes. After the drug lord died of plastic surgery complications in 1997, Meza Flores deserted the organization along with several other drug traffickers and decided to join the forces of the Beltran Leyva cartel, who at the time were part of Cartel de Sinaloa. While working for the Beltran brothers, Chapo Isidro garnered the reputation of a brave and brutal hitman capable of conducting the most difficult of hits. When the leader Arturo Beltran Leyva was gunned down and killed by the Mexican military in December of 2009, many within the cartel deserted and left to form an independent criminal organization with Edgar Valdez Villarreal, known as La Barbie. Meza Flores, however, remained loyal to the Beltran Leyva brothers until the bitter end. While working for the Beltran brothers, Meza Flores ran a faction of sicarios known as Los Mazatlecos, and when the Beltran Leyva organization dissolved, Los Mazatlecos became an independent organization led by Meza Flores. Even since leaving the Beltran Leyva organization, Chapo Isidro's vendetta against the Sinaloa Cartel has continued, and his gang have been the Sinaloa Cartel's main rivals in the state. Despite sharing a nickname with El Chapo, Isidro harbours a deep disdain for the Guzman family, and this could be pivotal in his decision-making when it comes to declaring his position in regards to the Sinaloa Cartel civil war. His gang, Los Mazatlecos, is based in the region of Guasave, Los Mochis, and Mazatlan in Sinaloa, and also Nayarit, and is responsible for smuggling large quantities of methamphetamine, heroin, marijuana, as well as cocaine. Just prior to the Civil War, it's alleged that Chapo Isidro reached a truce agreement to operate simultaneously in Sinaloa state. However, since the Civil War erupted, reports on Chapo Isidro's position have been varied. Journalist Annabel Hernandez on her podcast argues that Meza Flores has maintained a neutral stance in the war and has not taken sides in the dispute between Los Chapitos and La Maiza. This version is supported by journalist Carlos Raib Morales, who in a publication by Milenio pointed out that although in the territories controlled by Chapo Isidro there have been clashes between the two factions, he has not had a direct participation in the conflict. As a result, it's speculated that Chapo Isidro and his Guasave cartel have been consolidating their territory and have been rapidly growing in terms of power and influence. However, another version suggests that Meza Flores has intervened in the internal war of the Sinaloa Cartel, aligning himself with La Maiza. According to journalist Juan Grillo, on September 2nd, 2024, El Chapo Isidro met in Badiraguato with Jose Gil Caro Quintero, the leader of the Caborca cartel, as well as the son of Ismael Zambada, El Maito Flaco, to coordinate an offensive against Los Chapitos. According to Grillo's report, at the meeting, it was agreed that the Caborca cartel and the Guasave cartel, led by Chapo Isidro, were to send weapons and financing to the Zambada faction, with the aim of fumigating Los Chapitos. This information, according to the journalist, came from an operator close to the Caborca cartel, who assured that the three criminal leaders were ready to accelerate war against the sons of Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. Regardless of his alignment in the conflict, El Chapo Isidro, as mentioned, has been one of the biggest beneficiaries of the Sinaloa Cartel's internal war. With the Chapitos faction in open conflict with La Maiza, his group has been able to consolidate its territorial control without direct pressure from either side. However, this has come at a price for Chapo Isidro, who prior to the last year was able to operate under the radar for years. Naturally, since his influence in the area has grown, this has put authorities on red alert. In December of 2024, an operation in Ahome, land controlled by Chapo Isidro, resulted in the seizure of more than a ton of fentanyl. This discovery not only increased domestic pressure, but also international pressure on Chapo Isidro. In February of 2025, Fausto Isidro Meza Flores, aka Chapo Isidro, was included on the FBI's top 10 most wanted list, a list that not even El Mencho has managed to reach. According to the US agency, Meza Flores leads a transnational organization dedicated to trafficking heroin, methamphetamine, cocaine, fentanyl, and marijuana to the United States. His search sheet warns that he is armed and dangerous, in addition to having a high risk of flight. There is a growing thought, both on the ground in Mexico and among international authorities, that El Chapo Isidro may be the next super trafficker in Mexico. Aside from the increased pressure from law enforcement, he certainly finds himself in a good position, and his name may become more mainstream in the next few years. Watch this space in regards to Chapo Isidro and Los Mazatlecos. Lastly, one more figure that has yet to rear his ugly head in the Sinaloa Cartel civil war would be Juan Jose Ponce Felix, aka El Russo, the Russian. El Russo, a brutal faction leader within CDS who has a love of Russian weaponry, is loyal to the Mayo Zambada faction of the Sinaloa Cartel, though he, nor his men, are yet to enter the war. In fact, when Mayo Zambada was still a free man, he ordered Russo and his men out of Sinaloa to be transferred to Baja California in an attempt to cool tensions with Los Chapitos, and Los Russos have been in Baja California ever since. On March the 19th of 2025, the Mexicali City Council appointed Julian Leizola as the city's new Secretary of Public Security in Mexicali, marking the third leadership change in just 6 months. Leizola, a former police chief in both Tijuana and Ciudad Juarez, is known for his aggressive approach to combating organized crime, earning both praise for his crime-fighting success and criticism for alleged human rights abuses. A former military officer, Leizola's tenure as police chief in Tijuana and Ciudad Juarez saw homicide rates drop significantly, though his hardline tactics made him a polarizing figure. In 2015, he survived an assassination attempt that left him paralyzed from the waist down. His influence in northern Mexico's security landscape has been undeniable. Now though, a new challenge awaits in Mexicali. Within days of his appointment, a body and a narco mantra were left with the following message: "Welcome to the capital, Leizola. Here, you are going to have a hard time. We aren't going to let you act tough. Mexicali has an owner. Here, we are going to kill you, you bitch. We don't forgive, so watch out. Regards, El Russo." Given the changes within law enforcement in Baja California, this may mean that Los Russos take a lower profile, though we are yet to find out. Regardless, the war has created a whole load of violence in Mexico, as we all expected, as well as some interesting subplots which have yet to develop. In regards to the increase in violence, many examples have been documented and uploaded online, both in form of imagery and video. Today, we will discuss a couple of recent cartel videos, one a product of the Sinaloa Cartel civil war, and another being a product of the instability in the state of Guanajuato. But nevertheless, what happens in the actual videos? Firstly, we will cover the video to come out of Guanajuato first. The murder itself was committed by the Santa Rosa de Lima cartel, also known as CSRL. The CSRL are a cartel native to Guanajuato state, and have primarily relied on oil theft as their main income generator, and in recent years, they have been fighting the advances of CJNG in the state. The arrival of a Jalisco-based criminal organization has made Guanajuato one of the most violent states in the country. The CSRL surprisingly still have a big presence in the state. Many suspected them to fall by the wayside when their leader, Jose Antonio Yepes Ortiz, also known as El Marro or the Sledgehammer, was arrested in 2020. However, the cartel still continues to operate heavily in the area, with sicarios still pledging allegiance to their incarcerated boss, leading many to believe that he still runs the cartel from behind bars. The video in question is short and heavily edited, and came out during late March of 2025. The video itself is 18 seconds in length, and it has been dubbed with a narco corrido. As you play the video, you see a dishevelled, shirtless man who is kneeling on the ground, and behind him stands a sicario who is carrying an extra long machete. The hitman is wearing a face mask to conceal his identity, and he holds the victim by the hair. The captive looks to have taken a beating prior to recording. The hitman reads out a brief statement, essentially saying that this is the territory of the Santa Rosa de Lima cartel, and they will not stand for any form of extortion in the area, the crime in which the captive is accused of. It's also speculated that the victim belongs to CJNG. Once the statement is read out, the sicario takes the machete and he proceeds to slice the victim's neck. You see the blade sink into the man's throat, and instinctively he opens his mouth due to pain. The video then jump cuts. It shows a still image of the victim in pieces, and his body parts have been ordered in a way that looks like a disturbing puzzle out of a horror movie. His torso lays on the ground with his severed head balanced on it, and surrounding the torso are his severed limbs, and they have been made to more or less make a circle around the torso and the severed head. The next clip is more graphic, and it stems from the Sinaloa Cartel civil war, though, unlike most cartel videos, the victim wasn't a mere sicario or a low-level operative. In fact, he was quite well known. The man murdered was Jorge Cázares Alanes, aka Koki Cázares, who was said to be allied to Los Chapitos. He was a lieutenant of the Chapitos faction in Culiacan. The drug trafficker had several narco corridos in his honor, the most famous one being called El Compa Koki. He is also the brother of deceased Abel Cázares Alanes, who was the brother-in-law of Damaso Lopez Serrano, aka El Mini Leak. Koki Cázares was murdered on the 24th of March 2025, and his body parts were dumped near the Forum Culiacan shopping centre, left in public display, despite the area being constantly patrolled by the military. Next to his body was a note signed by La Maiza, which was directed at Los Chapitos, the usual cartel threats. The video in question is 41 seconds in length, and it has been filmed during nighttime. The location of the video appears to be on a concrete forecourt, possibly in an urban location. There are two different angles of a murder in the same video. As you play the clip, you see Koki Cázares laying on the ground, and he is bleeding profusely. In the background, you hear a chugging, buzzing type of sound. Initially, I thought it was a motorbike, but in fact, it is a chainsaw that is on the ground, unmanned but left on. Standing over Koki Cázares is a Zambada sicario, and he proceeds to hack away at Koki's neck with a hybrid machete. The machete looks like a regular machete, however, at the end of the blade, it is curled so that it looks like a sickle. The hitman hacks away brutally, and after each hit, the victim's body violently jolts as the metal blade causes nerves to shortwire. There is so much blood on the floor, and after about 5 hacks with the blade, the victim's head literally pops off his body. You are then given a closer-up angle of the murder, and you see just how sharp the blade actually is. The decapitation takes mere seconds, and in the new angle, you basically see all of the gory details. The cut made by the blade is incredibly clean. The second version of the murder clip is much louder, as it's taken closer to the chainsaw which is still on. In the closer version, you also see down the victim's windpipe after his head has been severed, and you see the carotid arteries pump out blood rapidly. Once the head is cut off, it rolls off the body and lands next to the chainsaw. The hitman then picks up the head and places it on the corpse. The video then jump cuts to a still image, and it shows the victim's severed head, surrounded by his severed hands and severed feet. Again, it looks like a bizarre, gruesome jigsaw. The video jump cuts once more, and it shows somebody discovering the remains of Koki outside the mall. A man drives slowly past the scene, and all that has been left is his head, hands, and feet, along with the narco note. The video ends there. But anyway, that is the video. I hope you enjoyed it if you can enjoy this sort of content. A bit more of a narco news roundup, I guess I would say, the current goings on as of right now. And as of right now, there's a lot of developing situations. As mentioned, if I could stress one thing, I think one name to really pay attention to is Chapo Isidro, based out of Sinaloa. He may be a big player in the coming years, should things work his way, because he has been one of the main beneficiaries of the Sinaloa Cartel civil war. And of course also, we are still kind of awaiting to see whether CJNG benefit from this Sinaloa Cartel civil war. We'll see what happens, but we'll keep on top of it. But anyway guys, if you're new here, please hit subscribe. Link to my Twitter in the pinned comment. Link to my Twitch in the pinned comment if you're interested. And as always, stay safe. And I'll catch you on the next one.